First of all, that's what I thought, right? So like I hear that the book's coming out, and I'm like, it's genius that it's you and your dad doing it together because whatever life you haven't lived yet, he's lived 100 times for you. But then as I'm reading the book, and it's specifically reading your parts, I'm like, Charlotte has lived a lot more life than I think anybody is
Yeah.
aware of.
I had to think about it at first because not that I'm a private person, but I have spent, almost 5 years creating this character, and it was due out of what I've been through, which I put in the book. And, Charlotte is not relatable. She's never really vulnerable on WWE programming. And I had to kind of decide, can I do this? Am I, is it the right move?
Right.
Are people going to view me different? Being my dad's daughter was never something that I just came into wrestling, because that's been my hardest struggle, I think, for the last couple of years, was like, you guys, I'm not trying to live off my dad's name. Like, I legitimately care. Like, give me a chance.
Hmm.
So it took 2 years to write this, and it was a lot of journaling.
Was there stuff that you weren't sure if you wanted to, like, it's one thing to
My
be
marriage,
vulnerable.
yeah,
That was what I
that
was
was
thinking.
one. So, like, and I'm honest about it, but it's really hard when people on social media are like, God, she's just like her dad, married twice. Like, I'm embarrassed of that. Like, have, I am.
Hmm.
So I was like, what's the best way to overcome it? Well, you know what? Talk about it. And I can't change it. And it's like, I am when people say that, they're like, oh, she's just like her dad. You don't know what, I wrote about it. I
Yeah.
journaled, and it was therapeutic.
Yeah, it's also like to say, oh, she's just like her dad because here's the stats on her, right?
Yep.
Like it's just like two
All you
marriages,
get
but
is the stats.
right. As opposed to here's the story, here's how,
Yeah.
why, and
Yeah.
how, and it's like, and then it almost feels like once you know the story, for anybody to sit there and say that because it almost implies, well, she shouldn't have divorces, which means she should still be in the marriage, but like in order to what? In order to not have divorces, you should stay in an abusive relationship.
Exactly.
But I guess that's hard. That is a hard thing for Charlotte to say,
For Charlotte, yeah.
right?
Well, and it's like, even in my personal life, I still think like, well, how do I go into a normal group of people as Charlotte and then be like, yeah, I've been married twice? Like,
Right.
people don't get that. But my, you know, I grew up fast.
Yeah.
My dad in the spotlight, like I talk about in the book, I was with seniors in middle school.
Right.
Like, that's not normal. But due to, my athletic background, and I just grew up fast, but I still deal with I still go through it today, but it's also uh my way of doing this, but not doing it uh or talking about it without, I guess, making it reality. No,
Right.
this is real.
Right.
This isn't for, you know, for a creative story to tell about being married. No, this is my story, and I hope, I could overcome it myself
Yeah.
by talking about it.
And it's also about helping people in real life. Like it's not something
Yeah.
like, oh, well, this is happening to my character, so it could help you. Like, no, this is my actual real person, real life story.
No, this is and like Charlotte, the character, I want to be Charlotte. Like, that's the funny thing. Like, when I
Right, of
come through the
course.
curtain, I want to be her. Like, if I tell people this all the time, like, if I could have that confidence in everyday life, it'd be different. My dad, to this day, every day says, go to bed every night knowing who you are.
Right.
Right. So I remember Hell in a Cell versus Sasha last year. I was
Sure.
like, Dad, what if they don't buy it? And he's like, well, you walk out there and you listen to the crowd. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, like, he knew who he was as a performer.
Right.
100%.
But your insecurity comes more
Well,
as
just as my
performer.
20s, as a
Yeah.
performer, and, well, not even as a performer. Well, maybe the first couple years.
Right.
It's just, I maybe just in the last couple months have really figured out who I am.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
Like, that's the insecurity, is not knowing. Like, when I quit my scholarship,
Uh-huh.
I think this is the best year of my life I've had since I was that age, and I say that in the book. like with my best friend Brittany, who I played volleyball
Yeah.
with. She graduated when I was a sophomore, but uh, I just didn't know who I was. I
Right.
wasn't comfortable in my own skin, and I had grown up in this, Charlotte's not small, but just around. I just never felt like I fit in, and I think it's because I was with older kids at such a young age, and then I got left with the kids my age, and I didn't know how to fit in, and I was older, but I wasn't, and
Yeah.
meant it just I got stuck, and then once I quit my scholarship and moved in with my first husband, I just completely I just
You got lost. You
I
lost
got lost,
yourself in.
and also my dad had moved out
Right.
when my mom and dad got divorced because, you know, I know the book. I talk about like it seemed real. Yes, there were ups and downs, and maybe I painted too much of a perfect picture growing up, but like that's how I felt. Like I only knew my dad had an affair when I was in middle school. Like other than that, we did everything together as a family.
And it was just like a
It was just like,
white picket fence
and I
family.
just wanted to be with my family. Like
Right.
I said, I didn't spend the night away from the house that much, like other than sports or when I went on volleyball and gymnastics, cheerleading competitions. Like I was always with my family.
Right.
So
So that's kind of a.
we did everything together. Like me and my mom, my dad brought me and my mom on those tours with WWE.
Yeah.
Like we did, I don't know, like my dad left and then I went to college and I didn't even know how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Like,
And it kind of feels like that you're just now starting to get out of that place of proving yourself to the people that are
yes.
around you because
Yeah.
like you're a kid, right? And you're
Yeah.
hanging out with older kids. I got to prove that I'm cool enough to be with the older kids. You go to
Yes.
college and you're like, I got to figure out how to be on my own because I've been with my family all this time. You get married, you're trying to prove yourself to your husband, and then you get into wrestling.
But I continue to fail, and that was the
Right.
problem. And like not wanting to fail. Like I talk about, marrying Ricky or marrying my ex probably what I felt inside was more like I can't fail.
Yes.
I'd already quit volleyball.
Right.
And
So I
like,
have to make this work.
sports
Even
were
if
my
it's-
biggest part of my life.
Yeah.
And it was like just continuously feeling like I was failing.